Okay, so we're going to make a mini wood spirit today. I've made this one just before to see how it goes, and I've tried to make it look like it's in a little log or a little tree. That's why we put rings up the top. So we're going to do it out of that lighter piece of wood. That's a New Zealand wood, and the one on the left hand, that's a black walnut. So we carved in this last week actually. It's a totra, quite a soft wood. So to start off with, we're just going to put a bit of a oval in. Doesn't need to be perfect. Looks better if it's actually not perfect. And here we go. We have the Kutzall detail kit there. As you can see, there's only one in there. The others are strewn across the table, but I've found the flame burr, so we're going to attack it with this. So really I was just putting a bit of a line in just to get us started as we go around the non-perfect oval. Okay, so you can sort of see on this one, the nose is probably just over, a little bit over halfway down. So we could put that in. So it's nice, try and decide which way you're going to put it. I think we'll go that way. So there's about halfway there. So that's the bottom of the nose. It's probably going to be the top. And put in some eyes there. So I'll just put a line across there. And we'll do a center line there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put that bit there in first. It's sort of like when you do these, it's a lot about adjusting it. So you put that in there, then you got to take the forehead back and all those kind of things. So let's do that now. And when I put in a nose, I tend to just put in a deep channel where the bridge of the nose is and make it quite deep, and we're using the Kutzall Fine Flame Burr there from the detail kit, and now you can sort of see I am going to sort of do that little bit there, the angle of the nose, and just keeping with that flame burr, and we will draw in the nose once we have that angle in. Now let's draw it in a little bit bigger than what it's going to be. So we've got that drawn in, and then we just sort of go at the side of the nose and we kind of flatten out where the cheeks are going to go. And you can sort of like flatten it out there. It doesn't need to form the cheek just at the moment because that's still got a long way to go back that nose, and it will form the cheeks as we go along. What we want to do now is you can sort of see the forehead is a little bit Neanderthal, so we need to bring that forehead back into the carving and sort of like just have it a little bit above the eyes. There you go, I've brought it back quite a long way there. Just put in a little bit where the eyes are going to go. Don't go too deep just at the moment. And you can sort of maybe go up a little bit into the straight line of what the brow line is. Now I'm going to change over to that pointy burr because it's got a little bit of a nice point there that we can put in a few details there. So now I'm sort of thinking of how wide that narrow bit at the top of the nose needs to be. Just using the side of the burr a little bit there too. Sorry about all the dust, it's sort of like one of those things. And we can sort of like draw in where the eyebrows are going to go. You see, really forming those eyebrows now. I always think like carving, it always looks kind of really bad halfway through. Now I've been putting in that little sort of like angle up at the end of the eyebrow in a couple of my carvings. I think it looks quite cool. And now what we're going to do is we're going to form the sort of like a bag under the eyes. You'll see kind of how it forms the eyes. Now we're not going to carve an eye in this. We're just going to carve kind of like what looks like an eye and let the shadows do the rest. Maybe it's kind of like squinting in this one, I guess. Okay, so sorry about the filming here, but I'm narrowing down the nose and I'm leaving a little bit there just for the nostril, so I'm not taking it all the way down but narrowing that top bit down. So you sort of see that little bit left there, almost off camera, sorry, but you can sort of see it there. It sort of like goes down a bit. Now it looks terrible at the moment, but that's all good. And I sort of go in where the top of the nostril is going to go, and then I'll bring it around and sort of go across the bottom of the nose, and might put we'll go in here and put the bottom of the nose in. Pretty happy with that profile. Now I'm just using the tip of that just to sort of like round out the end of the nose. Noses are quite difficult, but if you sort of like take your time, the nostrils kind of form themselves as you go along. You just got to sort of like analyze where you need to take off wood here. Just really trying to thin out that top bit as well. So the nostrils aren't really defined at the moment, but they will come along as we go through this carving. Now I'm putting in a line here, sort of like the top of the mustache, but it's also like the bottom of the cheek. And we go quite deep where it's just where the nostril sort of like ends, and then go along there like that. You can sort of see that forms the cheeks, and then we can put in sort of however you kind of want to do the mustache. You might want to have it go down. I think I might go across this time. Do one of those kind of handlebar ones. Well, not handlebars, sort of like sweeping up ones. Is it handlebar ones? Anyway. So that sort of is, you can sort of see it here starting to take shape a bit. And what you want to do with the bottom of those cheeks is you kind of want to sort of like smooth them out a little bit. So go in on an angle there. Sorry, it's a bit out of focus there, but you can sort of see how I've sort of smoothed it out there. And do the other side as well, so just smoothing that sort of like real sharp angle there, so it sort of like forms a bit of a smoother transition there. And you can put a little bit of an angle there as well. Tidy up this mustache. And it's sort of like having a look at the mustache and see if the both sides kind of match each other. Try and level them out a little bit. And we can put in a little bit of a bottom lip here, bit of a mouth. I just tend to make it really, really simple. Yeah, these carvings are very, very small, so you can't really put in heaps of details. Just got to kind of insinuate the mouth is there. I sort of like put it in and then sort of like make a judgment whether I need to like take it up or not a little bit. Now we're going in with a Dremel wheel point burr, and it's a little sphere, this one, less than 2mm across, and it's a really nice little burr. I use a lot in sort of engraving and all of that kind of stuff. So just sort of like smoothing out areas and sort of like getting each side kind of equal. Good for kind of rounding out the nose as well, that little Dremel wheel point burr. Just really, really lightly touching it there. You can sort of see the nostrils still aren't sort of like really great there, but won't worry about that just at the moment. Just trying to get rid of that pen line actually. Should have used a pencil really. Okay, so I'm going to try something different here. You can sort of see I'm using the edge of the bowl burr to get that kind of like nostril sort of like U shape there. And I'm also going in with that bowl burr just to put in a little bit more of a nice clean cut between the mustache and the cheek. And we'll do the eyes now. Now I'm just using a T-shaped burr. Go across, and then I might pull down a little bit just to make it a little bit less, just a little bit wider. And then I'll tend to hold it up into the light to see kind of like what it looks like from straight ahead. And you can put in the little eyebrow lines as well. I go across. I know some people tend to go up. You can sort of use that burr to put in a nice defined line around the edge as well. And we're going on to the hairs of the mustache and the beard. And I'm just using a really small T-shaped burr here, and just putting in some real fine lines. I'm not going really deep because I tend to, if you go really deep with these burrs, the wood will start sort of like chipping out. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good, pretty happy with that. Then I'll change up to a bigger T-shaped burr and put in a really nice deep line around the face and sort of like leveling things up now. I'm pretty happy with what it's looking like. Sort of see a real nice close up there of just going around with that T-shaped burr. Just be aware that if you push it against the face, it will go into the carving itself. I'm going to put a little hat on. Now what I do with this is I'll put like the line of the bottom of the hat, and I'll try and put well, where it folds up, and then some little lines across. And then I try and go under the top with a T-shaped burr, but I don't want to go under too much, but just sort of like forming a little bit of a undercut, but not too much, and push down a little bit to take the forehead back a little bit so it's less in line with the hat. And now we're going to put in some bark, and I'm just going to use one of those bowl-shaped burrs and go around with that. And I decided like it was too straight, so I put on a Kutzall flame burr and just sort of making the wood a little bit more organic, I guess you would say. So it looks a lot less like a dowel and more like a branch. Now you could carve this out of a branch, that would look pretty cool. And you always got to watch out when you are shaping the top of wood, that your burr doesn't fly down and hit your finger like this almost did. Like right there, you see that, how that went over the edge and down. Bit of a slow motion shot there. Just about got the finger, but you just missed. Another close call. Right, so just finishing off the back. And I think we will put some rings in the top, and I'm just going back to that Dremel wheel point burr. I'm not worrying too much about making it really defined. I just kind of want a rough outline of that. And we're using a kind of a flap sander here, a 220 grit, and just going over it really lightly just to take off sort of like the little fluffy bits and all of that. Because when it gets to this size, it's really hard to sand these kind of little fellas. And just doing the back as well. So it's looking pretty good. You can sort of see it there. And I'm using a wood dye. You could use a paint as well, a watered down brown paint, and just sort of like making a little bit of a contrast between the face and the back. Just make sure you don't put any of the dye on the face or paint on the face. And then I go over with that sanding disc thing again and just take off the top bit so it's got a little bit of texture going on there. It's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that actually. I hope this has helped. And it doesn't matter what size carving you're carving, it's sort of like the same process on carving wood spirits. Well, it is for me anyway. They look like brothers. Okay, bye everybody.